What if I told you that one simple food could outdo eggs at preserving your muscle and your independence well into your 70s and beyond? Imagine a world where losing strength isn't an inevitable part of aging, but a choice you can fight with every meal. Could a humble, everyday ingredient be the secret weapon against the fastest-growing health threat for older adults? Hello everyone, welcome back to Senior Health Essentials, your go-to channel for practical, science-backed tips to help us all live longer, feel stronger, and stay sharp through our golden years. What if I told you that the key to staying strong, steady on your feet, and full of energy isn't hiding in a pill bottle or a high-tech shake, but in an unassuming food you can find at any grocery store? It might surprise you to learn that this powerhouse actually delivers more muscle-building fuel per serving than eggs, and it does so in a way that science says our aging bodies need most. You see, muscle isn't just about looking fit or lifting heavy weights, it's your body's metabolic engine, your stabilizer when you climb stairs or reach for a shelf, and your safety net against falls, fractures, and even diseases like type 2 diabetes. Yet as we hit our 40s, 50s, and 60s, that very muscle begins to fade, slowly, almost imperceptibly, until one day we notice it's harder to carry groceries or play with the grandkids. But here's the good news. Sarcopenia, the gradual loss of muscle mass and strength, is far from a foregone conclusion. According to decades of research, including randomized controlled trials and meta-analyses, we have the power to alter that trajectory through smart food choices, strategic meal timing, and targeted exercise. It's not about chasing the next fad, it's about understanding why our bodies respond differently to protein as we age, and then using that knowledge to our advantage. Research shows that aging muscle becomes less responsive to the same protein doses that worked in our 20s, a phenomenon called anabolic resistance. In practical terms, that means a 25-year-old might trigger a robust muscle-building response with 20 grams of high-quality protein, whereas a 65-year-old may need closer to 30 or even 35 grams to hit the same anabolic ignition. And of all the essential amino acids, leucine is the real spark plug. One large egg only provides about half a gram of leucine, so you'd need to eat 4 or 5 eggs in one sitting just to cross the threshold that tells your muscle to grow and repair. That's doable, but it can feel like a lot, especially first thing in the morning. Enter whey protein, a natural byproduct of cheese production that packs nearly 3 grams of leucine in a single 25-gram scoop. In multiple controlled trials, older adults who supplemented with whey after resistance workouts saw significantly greater gains in muscle protein synthesis than those who relied on slower digesting proteins like casein or plant-based sources. And it isn't just about bench pressing more weight. Study participants also walked farther, climbed stairs more easily, and reported a renewed confidence in their daily activities. Plus, choosing whey helps reduce food waste by putting a once-discarded dairy byproduct to powerful use. And when sourced from grass-fed or regenerative dairies, it aligns with both your health goals and your values. So, what does all this mean for you? It means that with a modicum of planning, think of a morning smoothie stirred with whey, a lunch built around lean chicken or fish, and a dinner that balances plant and animal proteins, you can overcome anabolic resistance, preserve lean mass, and safeguard your mobility for decades to come. It means shifting from a mindset of aging means declining to aging means adapting, using each meal as an opportunity to invest in your future strength and resilience. Before we dive into exactly how to structure those meals, calculate your protein targets, and build a simple resistance training routine that fits your lifestyle, ask yourself, when was the last time you looked at your breakfast and thought, am I feeding my muscles for tomorrow's challenges, not just fueling this morning's errands? If you can't remember, you're in the perfect spot to start. In the next section, we'll break down the precise steps to transform your kitchen into your most powerful tool against muscle loss, and ensure you never have to compromise independence for age. What if I told you that the subtle weakness you feel climbing stairs or opening a jar isn't just getting older, but a warning sign you can and must take action on? Sarcopenia, age-related loss of muscle mass and strength, doesn't announce itself with dramatic headlines. It sneaks into your life over decades. A couple of pounds of lean muscle disappearing in your 40s, your once powerful grip feeling just a bit weaker in your 50s, and by your 60s, climbing a flight of stairs leaves you winded. But far from being a mere cosmetic issue, this silent decline carries serious health risks. Research shows that even modest losses of muscle tissue increase your risk of falls, fractures, and metabolic diseases such as type 2 diabetes, and they chip away at your independence, confidence, and quality of life. Consider the numbers. A large cohort study published in the Journal of Clinical Endocrinology and Metabolism in 2014 followed older adults and found that those with higher muscle mass had significantly lower all-cause mortality, regardless of body weight. Separately, the Health ABC study, which tracked over 3,000 participants aged 70 to 79, revealed that individuals who lost the most thigh muscle volume over 3 years faced dramatically higher rates of mobility disability and death, even when their BMI remained unchanged. So why does sarcopenia happen? The culprit is a combination of factors: hormonal changes, chronic inflammation, reduced physical activity, and something called anabolic resistance. As we age, our muscle fibers become less responsive to the usual growth signals triggered by dietary protein and resistance exercise. Imagine trying to start a car with a weak battery. No matter how many times you turn the key, the engine sputters. That's anabolic resistance in action. Your muscles need a stronger spark of amino acids, especially leucine, to fire the muscle-building process. But knowledge is power. First, recognize the early warning signs: shrinking girth around your arms and thighs, weaker grip strength. Test it with a simple hand grip dynamometer, or see if you struggle to open packages you once handled effortlessly. Increased fatigue during everyday tasks like carrying groceries or climbing stairs. Ask yourself, when did you last notice that your favorite hobby, gardening, dancing, or playing with grandchildren, felt more exhausting than it used to? That feeling isn't inevitable, it's an invitation to rebuild. The good news? Sarcopenia is modifiable. Lifestyle interventions, targeted nutrition, and resistance training have proven in randomized controlled trials to not only halt, but reverse muscle loss. For instance, the 2017 meta-analysis in Aging Research Reviews concluded that twice-weekly resistance training produced measurable increases in lean mass and strength for older adults, even into their 80s and 90s. It's never too late to start. Before we explore specific dietary strategies and workout plans, pause for a moment. Picture yourself a year from now, effortlessly carrying your own luggage through an airport, confidently stepping into your favorite hiking boots, and greeting each morning without the dread of muscle soreness. That vision is within reach, but it begins with understanding that every pound of muscle you preserve today is a deposit in your independence bank for tomorrow. In the next segment, we'll uncover the surprising science-backed foods and precise protein targets you need to overcome anabolic resistance, and simple, effective resistance exercises that fit seamlessly into your routine. No fancy equipment required. Ready to turn the tide on muscle loss? Let's dive in and arm you with the tools to reclaim your strength, step by step. What if I told you the secret to preserving muscle isn't simply eating more protein, but choosing the right type at the right moments to outsmart aging? In our 20s, a quick scramble of 2 eggs might have been enough to kickstart muscle repair after a workout. But as we cross into our 40s and beyond, our bodies demand a smarter approach. Research shows that anabolic resistance, the reduced efficiency of our muscles to respond to protein, becomes more pronounced with age, In practical terms, the same meal that once fueled gains at 25 may now fall flat at 65 unless we dial in the quality, timing, and amino acid profile of what we eat. Quality over quantity. Not all proteins are created equal. High-quality sources deliver a complete array of essential amino acids, with leucine playing the starring role in triggering muscle protein synthesis, MPS. A large egg offers about 6 grams of protein, but only approximately 0.5 grams of leucine, meaning you'd need 4 to 5 eggs in one sitting to cross the anabolic ignition threshold of roughly 2.5 grams of leucine per meal for older adults. That's doable, but not always practical, especially at breakfast. Timing matters. A 2013 randomized trial in the Journal of Nutrition compared seniors who consumed most of their daily protein at dinner and brought in this Kemani 60% at one meal versus those who spread it evenly across breakfast, lunch, and dinner. The evenly distributed group saw a 25% greater MPS over 24 hours, underscoring that hitting approximately 30 grams of high-quality protein with at least 2.5 grams of leucine every 3 to 5 hours can dramatically boost your muscle-building response. Enter whey protein isolate. Derived from milk during cheese production, whey packs about 2.7 grams of leucine per 25-gram scoop, perfectly calibrated to cross that leucine threshold in older adults. A 2009 trial in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition found that elderly men consuming 20 grams of whey immediately after resistance exercise experienced significantly greater MPS than those given casein or soy. And a 2018 meta-analysis in Nutrients confirmed that combining whey with resistance training yields larger gains in lean mass, strength, and functional performance than training alone. But let's keep it real. You don't need to chase perfection or live like you're in a lab. Here's a simple, science-backed strategy you can start today. Aim for 30 to 40 grams of high-quality protein per meal, focusing on lean meats, dairy, and whey. Ensure at least 2.5 to 3 grams of leucine in each sitting. Each is a 25-gram scoop of whey, 4-ounce chicken breast, approximately of 2.8 grams leucine, or 6-ounce Greek yogurt plus a scoop of whey. It brought in this as 3 grams of leucine. Space meals 3 to 5 hours apart to maintain a steady anabolic environment. Ask yourself, when was the last time your breakfast provided enough leucine to actually flip the switch on muscle repair? If you're topping your coffee with a splash of milk and calling it breakfast, you might be missing the mark. Now, let's weave in training. Resistance exercise primes muscles, making them far more responsive to these protein sparks. One study showed that protein consumed post-exercise can amplify MPS by up to 50% compared to taking it at rest. So pair that morning. Before we wrap up this deep dive into diet and protein quality, here's a quick reflection. How would your daily life change if each meal felt like an intentional step toward stronger bones, steadier balance, and long-term independence? It's not about perfection, it's about consistent, evidence-based choices that stack up day after day. If you're ready for action, join our 7-day challenge. Hit 3 protein-rich meals per day, each with 30 to 40 grams of protein and writing operation 2.5 grams of leucine. Add 2 short, targeted resistance workouts, just 20 to 30 minutes each. Track your meals briefly to build awareness, then let that new habit carry you forward. Hit subscribe and become part of our community dedicated to aging intelligently and powerfully. In the next and final segment, we'll pull together diet, training, and recovery into a simple, sustainable daily protocol you can stick with for life. Let's finish strong together. What if I told you that the same plate of chicken you've been eating for years simply isn't enough to keep your muscles alive and thriving as you age? As we move past our 40s, our bodies undergo a stealthy shift known as anabolic resistance. Muscle tissue just doesn't listen as well to the usual protein signals it once obeyed. Imagine speaking a language you learned fluently in your youth, only to find the grammar has subtly changed. Suddenly, the meals and workouts that used to pack on strength barely register. A landmark 2011 study in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition made this clear. Older adults require significantly higher doses of essential amino acids, especially leucine, to trigger the same muscle protein synthesis (MPS) that younger people achieve with far less. In essence, what fired up your muscle-building engine at 25 now only sputters at 65 unless you turn up the volume. Let's talk numbers. The current RDA of 0.8 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight daily is meant to prevent deficiency. It's the bare minimum to avoid muscle-wasting diseases, not the ideal for thriving as you age. For someone who weighs 150 pounds, about 68 kilograms, that equates to a mere 55 grams of protein per day, often delivered in just 1 or 2 heavy meals. Yet, multiple clinical trials suggest that aging adults do best consuming 1.2 to 1.6 grams per kilogram per day, so our 68-kilogram friend should aim for 82 to 109 grams daily, ideally spread evenly across 3 meals. Why the jump? Because our muscles need that extra leucine jolt, around 2.5 to 3 grams per meal, to overcome resistance and truly grow. Here's a practical example. Ask yourself, when did you last look at your breakfast and think, is this doing more than just filling my stomach? Is it actually preserving my strength for tomorrow's walk in the park or an afternoon with the grandkids? If your morning routine is a bowl of cereal or toast with a smear of peanut butter, you're likely shortchanging your muscles before the day even begins. Overcoming anabolic resistance is not about eating more haphazardly. It's about strategic distribution and protein quality. Choose sources rich in leucine, whey protein isolates, lean meats, dairy, and legumes, combined intelligently if you follow a plant-based diet. And remember, spacing your intake every 3 to 5 hours keeps your body in a continuous muscle repair mode, rather than letting long fasts between meals mute your growth signals. To translate science into action, here's your game plan. Calculate your target. Multiply your weight in kilos by 1.2 to 1.6 to find your daily protein goal, e.g., 68 kilograms times 1.4, approximately 95 grams today. Divide evenly. Aim for 30 to 35 grams of protein at breakfast, lunch, and dinner, each meal supplying after than equal to 2.5 grams of leucine. Choose wisely. A 25-gram scoop of whey isolate provides approximately 2.7 grams of leucine. 4 ounces of chicken breast delivers approximately 2.8 grams. 6 ounces of Greek yogurt plus a scoop of whey nets approximately 3 grams. Sync with training. Consume your highest leucine meal within 30 minutes post-resistance exercise to maximize MPS. Research shows that timing protein around workouts can boost synthesis by up to 50%. This isn't a one-off reset. It's a mindset shift. Your body isn't fighting you. It's just asking for a louder, clearer protein signal. By meeting its heightened demands, you reclaim control over muscle loss and build a buffer against future decline. Now let me offer you a personal reflection. Think back to a moment when you felt truly strong. Maybe lifting a grandchild, carrying a heavy suitcase, or dominating the dance floor at a family wedding. What if you could feel that power again? Not just as a fleeting memory, but as your everyday reality. You can. And it starts with tailoring your protein strategy to the science of aging. If you're ready to take action, I invite you to our 7-day challenge. Hit 3 intentional, high-leucine meals each day. Pair 2 of those meals with brief resistance sessions, bodyweight exercises, bands or light dumbbells. Track your protein and leucine intake once to build awareness, then let that habitual precision guide you forward. Hit that subscribe button to join our community of evidence-driven achievers. And in the conclusion, most of us load up on protein when the day winds down. Steak for dinner, protein shakes before bed, and assume it's enough. Yet, a landmark 2013 randomized controlled trial published in the Journal of Nutrition found that older adults who spread their protein evenly, about 30 grams per meal, experienced 25% greater muscle protein synthesis, MPS, over 24 hours than those who consumed most of their protein at dinner. In other words, your muscles respond better to 3 balanced protein hits than 1 big feast at night. Let's break down the science in clear terms. As we age, our muscles become less sensitive to protein's anabolic signals, a phenomenon known as anabolic resistance. To overcome this, it's not just total daily protein that counts, but how you distribute it. When you eat around 30 grams of high-quality protein every 3 to 5 hours, your body gets a steady stream of essential amino acids, particularly leucine, which acts like the ignition key for MPS. If you cram 90 grams of protein into one meal and then let your muscles fast for the rest of the day, you're missing 3 prime windows to stimulate repair and growth. Here's a practical calculation for a 150-pound, 68 kilograms adult aiming for the optimal 1.2 to 1.6 grams per kilogram protein intake. Daily target, 82 to 109 grams of protein. Per meal, 3 meals, roughly 27 to 36 grams each. Leucine goal, at least 2.5 to 3 grams per meal to surpass the anabolic threshold. At breakfast, that could look like a Greek yogurt parfait with whey stirred in, about 25 grams of protein plus 2.7 grams leucine. Lunch might be a grilled chicken salad delivering 30 grams of protein and 2.8 grams of leucine. Dinner could be 5 ounces salmon with quinoa, totaling 35 grams of protein and over 3 grams leucine. You're not just aiming for a big number by day's end, you're architecting 3 distinct muscle-building opportunities. Why does timing matter so much? Think of your muscles as plants. They need regular watering, not one flood and then a dry spell. Each protein-rich meal serves as a refresh, turning on the molecular pathways that repair fibers, build strength, and maintain function. In fact, a 2014 meta-analysis in clinical nutrition reinforced that even distribution of protein across meals improves nitrogen balance and muscle retention in older adults across diverse trials. That's consistent evidence from RCTs to meta-analyses showing the power of paced protein dosing. Ask yourself, when was the last time you started your day with a muscle-preserving meal instead of... Let me share a quick story. I recently worked with a friend in her late 60s who felt weaker each January until she tried this approach. She began having a whey-enriched smoothie at 8 a.m., a turkey and cheese wrap at 1 p.m., and a balanced fish dinner at 6 p.m. Within weeks, she reported less joint stiffness, went on longer walks, and even started gardening again. Activities she had feared were behind her. That's the real-life impact of aligning your eating pattern with the science of aging physiology. Ready for a challenge? For the next 7 days, plan 3 meals, each hitting 30 to 35 grams of protein, with at least 2.5 grams of leucine. Space them about 4 to 5 hours apart. No skipping breakfast. Include 2 short resistance sessions, 20 to 30 minutes, timed around those meals. Reflect daily. Notice your energy, strength, and confidence climbing stairs or carrying groceries. Hit subscribe and join our community committed to aging with strength and purpose. In our final segment, we'll weave this meal strategy together with recovery tactics and sustainable workout plans into a daily blueprint you can follow for life, building a foundation that protects your independence and vitality for decades to come. What if I told you that the leftover liquid from cheese making could be the most powerful tool in your fight against muscle loss? This humble byproduct, whey protein isolate, packs a staggering punch for aging bodies. In a single 25-gram scoop, you get about 2.7 grams of leucine, the amino acid recognized as the ignition key for muscle protein synthesis, MPS. Studies show that older adults need at least 2.5 to 3 grams of leucine per meal to overcome anabolic resistance, the age-related dampening of muscle's response to protein. Think about it. To reach that same leucine threshold with eggs, you'd need 4 or 5 of them in one sitting. Sure, possible, but not always practical. Back in 2009, a randomized controlled trial published in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition put this to the test. Elderly men consumed 20 grams of whey protein immediately after resistance exercise, and their MPS rates soared significantly higher than those who took casein or soy protein. This wasn't a marginal uptick. It was a clear demonstration that whey, with its rapid absorption and leucine density, triggers a stronger, quicker anabolic response. Fast forward to 2018, and a comprehensive meta-analysis in Nutrients synthesized data from multiple trials involving older adults supplementing with whey plus resistance training. The results were striking. Compared to resistance training alone, the whey-supplemented groups saw greater gains in lean body mass, increased strength, and improved. But let's go beyond the numbers. Whey protein is more than a supplement. It's a functional whole food. It sits at the intersection of convenience and clinical validation, a minimally processed dairy product that carries decades of safety and efficacy data. And there's an ethical bonus. Whey is a cheese byproduct that often goes to waste. By incorporating it into your diet, you're reducing dairy industry waste, a small sustainability win. If you're passionate about environmental stewardship, look for grass-fed or regenerative dairy whey products, aligning your health goals with responsible sourcing. So, how do you make whey work for you? Here's a practical plan you can weave into your routine starting today. Post-workout precision. After a brief resistance session, think bodyweight lunges, push-ups, or light dumbbell rows, stir 1 25-gram scoop of whey isolate into water, milk, or a smoothie. You'll hit that 2.7-gram leucine target right when your muscles are primed to absorb it. Breakfast boost. Swap out a carb-heavy breakfast for Greek yogurt blended with whey, berries, and a handful of nuts. You'll easily get 30 to 35 grams of high-quality protein and over 2.5 grams of leucine, setting the tone for muscle preservation all day. Snack strategy. If you find your strength flagging mid-afternoon, skip the sugary treat and grab a whey-enriched protein shake instead. It's a quick way to bridge the gap between lunch and dinner, ensuring you maintain steady amino acid delivery. Ask yourself, when was the last time a single dietary change delivered measurable improvements in your strength, energy, and daily function? For many, adding whey is the catalyst that turns intention into action, backed by real-world data and dozens of clinical trials. Let me share a quick story. A friend in her late 70s began mixing whey into her morning oatmeal and doing 2 short resistance sessions per week. Within a month, her physical therapist noticed a 15% improvement in her chair rise test, a benchmark for lower body strength, and she reported feeling steadier on her feet. That kind of functional win isn't about vanity, it's about preserving independence and confidence in everyday life. Now, here's your invitation. Join our 7-day challenge for 1 week. Incorporate 25 grams of whey isolate in one meal or snack daily, ideally around your workout. Complete 2 resistance sessions, each lasting 20 to 30 minutes, focusing on compound movements. Track your protein and leucine intakes simply. No math required, just note your scoop and meal choices. Share your progress in the comments. Let's build a community of evidence-driven individuals reclaiming strength as they age. Hit subscribe to stay in the loop on future science-backed strategies. As we wrap up this deep dive into whey's powerful potential, prepare to see how these insights dovetail with recovery tactics, sleep optimization, and sustainable training protocols. In our conclusion, we'll pull every thread together into a seamless daily blueprint, one you can commit to for life, not just for a quick fix. Because when science, inspiration, and practical steps unite, lasting change becomes not just possible, but inevitable. What if I told you your muscles are more than just levers for lifting? They're secret powerhouses that regulate your blood sugar, fight inflammation, and even help your brain stay sharp. When we think of muscle, we often picture bulging biceps or a toned core. But skeletal muscle is actually our body's largest glucose sink, accounting for 70 to 80% of insulin-stimulated glucose uptake. That means every extra pound of functional muscle you carry helps your body dispose of blood sugar more effectively, guarding against metabolic syndrome and type 2 diabetes. It's not just gym lore. This is hard science in action. A 2014 study in the Journal of Clinical Endocrinology and Metabolism analyzed over 3,600 older adults from NHANES 3 and found that those in the highest quartile of muscle mass index had a 20% lower risk of all-cause mortality over the follow-up period, even after adjusting for BMI and other risk factors. In other words, more muscle meant a longer life, independent of how much fat you carried. But muscle loss isn't harmless. The Health, Aging, and Body Composition Health ABC study tracked more than 2,200 men and women aged 70 to 79 over a decade, using CT scans of their thighs to measure muscle area. Participants who lost the most thigh muscle volume experienced significantly higher rates of mobility disability and mortality, regardless of changes in overall weight. These aren't abstract lab findings. They translate directly to real-world independence, the ability to climb stairs without breathlessness, carry groceries without wincing, and recover from illness or surgery with resilience. If that economic and functional fallout sounds steep, consider another groundbreaking discovery. Muscle is an endocrine organ. During contraction, muscle fibers release hundreds of signaling proteins known as myokines, which travel through the bloodstream to communicate with other tissues. For example, irisin, cleaved from the FNDC5 protein during exercise, has been shown to promote mitochondrial biogenesis and anti-inflammatory effects, improving insulin sensitivity in muscle and liver, and even supporting brain-derived neurotrophic factor production in the hippocampus, key for learning and memory. Another myokine, cathepsin B, has been linked to enhanced neurogenesis when it crosses the blood-brain barrier, highlighting a direct muscle-brain communication pathway. This isn't just academic curiosity. It means every rep, every set, and every muscle-stimulating meal you consume sparks a cascade of systemic benefits. Metabolic health. By bolstering your muscle mass, you ramp up glucose uptake and blunt insulin spikes, reducing the long-term risk of type 2 diabetes. Longevity. Greater muscle index correlates with lower mortality. Even when total body weight stays the same, more muscle tips the scales toward better survival. Cognitive resilience. Myokines like irisin and cathepsin B help nourish your brain, potentially slowing age-related cognitive decline. Inflammation control. Exercise-induced myokines exhibit anti-inflammatory properties, counteracting chronic low-grade inflammation, an underlying driver of many age-related diseases. Ask yourself, when was the last time you considered your muscles as a key defense against metabolic disease or cognitive slowdown? If your routine focuses solely on cardio or passive activities, you're missing half the story. Resistance training and adequate protein intake don't just build strength, they unleash a hormonal symphony that benefits your whole body. Here's a quick, practical take-home. Aim for 2 to 3 resistance sessions per week, emphasizing compound movements, squats, lunges, presses, rows, to engage major muscle groups. Pair each session with a 25-gram whey protein isolate shake within 30 minutes to amplify muscle protein synthesis and fuel myokine release. Over days and weeks, you'll not only see stronger muscles, but enjoy better blood sugar control, sharper thinking, and a reduced risk of falls and fractures. Feeling inspired? Join our 7-day challenge. Commit to 3 resistance workouts spaced evenly across the week. Fuel each workout and your day with 25 grams whey protein or a leucine-rich whole food meal. Notice how your energy, balance, and mental clarity respond. What if I told you that picking up a pair of soup cans could rewire your muscles to soak up protein like a sponge and reverse years of strength loss? When you lift resistance, even something as simple as bodyweight squats or bicep curls with dumbbells, you activate the mTOR pathway, the master regulator of muscle growth. This intracellular cascade primes your muscle fibers to respond more effectively to amino acids, turning every gram of protein into a potent building block for strength and resilience. In 2017, a comprehensive meta-analysis in Aging Research Reviews confirmed what practitioners have long observed. Twice-weekly resistance training is enough to reverse sarcopenia, yielding measurable gains in lean mass, muscle strength, and functional performance for older adults, even those in their 80s and 90s. Whether using elastic bands, free weights, or bodyweight exercises, consistency and progressive overload are the keys to rewriting your muscles' aging script. Here's a simple, evidence-based routine you can start today. Monitoring. Track your protein intake for 1 to 2 weeks using a simple app or journal. This builds awareness, helping you fine-tune portion sizes and leucine targets without feeling obsessive. Reflect on how your energy, strength, and daily activities respond. Small tweaks early make big differences over months. Supplements, if needed. Whey protein isolate to hit that leucine threshold post-workout. Creatine monohydrate, 5 grams per day, for extra strength and muscle mass support. Vitamin D if your blood levels are low, crucial for muscle and immune health. Remember, supplements are tools, not shortcuts. The foundation is whole food nutrition and consistent training. Now here's your 7-day challenge to kickstart this protocol. Day 1 through 7. Nutrition. Hit 3 balanced protein-rich meals each day. 30 grams for protein, 2.5 grams of leucine. Day 1 and 4 workouts. Complete 2 short resistance sessions, 20 to 30 minutes, focusing on compound movements. Day 3 and 6. Cardio. Add a 30-minute Zone 2 aerobic session, brisk walk cycling. Daily reflection. At day's end, note 1 win: a stronger lift, steadier climb upstairs, better recovery, or more energy. By the end of 1 week, you'll notice subtle shifts: steadier energy, reduced muscle soreness, and a growing confidence in your body's capabilities. If you're serious about taking control of your strength and health as you age, hit subscribe now and join our community of evidence-driven achievers. We've got a lineup of videos coming up that dive deeper into meal planning hacks, beginner-friendly resistance routines, and advanced recovery strategies like sleep optimization and stress resilience techniques. Don't miss out. Your future self will thank you. Remember, it's not about perfection or lifting like a bodybuilder. It's about consistent, intentional actions that align with your physiology and goals. Start this protocol today, stick with it, and watch how a few simple changes can transform your strength, independence, and quality of life for decades to come.